Dr. Kael Thorne was 3 whiskeys deep into his evening routine when the universe decided to ruin his life. Again. The amber liquid burned just right as he stared at the holographic display floating above his cluttered desk, watching alien hieroglyphs scroll past like the world's most depressing screensaver. Station Kepler 442b wasn't exactly the garden spot of the galaxy, more like a glorified storage unit orbiting a dead star, stuffed with the final words of civilizations that had the poor judgment to go extinct. But hey, it paid the bills and kept him far enough from Earth that his ex-wife's lawyers couldn't serve him papers. Another love letter from the cosmos, he muttered, taking another sip. Dear universe, we're all dead now. Wish you were here. His AI assistant, Aria, materialized as a shimmering blue outline beside the display. She'd chosen the appearance of a 1940s librarian today, horn-rimmed glasses, hair in a neat bun, the whole 9 yards. Kael appreciated the aesthetic consistency, even if it was probably some passive-aggressive commentary on his organizational skills. Dr. Thorne, I'm detecting an anomaly in the Zephyrian archive you requested I process. Kael barely looked up from his glass. Let me guess. Another, we should have been nicer to our planet, confession. Maybe a why did we invent nuclear weapons retrospective. I've got a whole collection of those. No sir. This is different. Aria's voice carried that particular tone AIs used when they were about to make your day considerably worse. The final transmission from the Zephyrians contains a phrase that appears in the terminal records of 46 other dead civilizations. Now that got his attention. Kael set down his whiskey and actually looked at the display. 46. That's every species we've catalogued. 47, actually. I just finished cross-referencing the linguistic database. Aria highlighted sections of text in various alien scripts, each one pulsing with an eerie red glow. Despite completely different evolutionary paths, writing systems, and cognitive structures, they all recorded the same warning in their final hours. The words appeared in crisp English translation, do not let them wake the dreamer. Kael felt something cold crawl up his spine that had nothing to do with the station's perpetually broken climate control. That's not possible. These civilizations never had contact with each other. Some of them existed millions of years apart. I'm aware of the statistical impossibility, Dr. Thorne. I ran the analysis 17 times. The probability of convergent linguistic evolution producing identical semantic structures is approximately. I don't need the math, Aria. I need another drink. But even as he reached for the bottle, his mind was racing. 47 dead civilizations. All of them advanced enough for interstellar travel. All of them gone within decades of achieving true artificial intelligence. All of them leaving the same warning. The station's communication array chimed with an incoming transmission from Earth. Kael groaned. The only people who called him were bill collectors, his ex-wife's lawyers, or his former research partner Dr. Elena Vasquez. Given his recent luck, it was probably all 3. Elena's face materialized in the hologram, her dark eyes bright with excitement and something that looked suspiciously like panic. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, and she was wearing the same lab coat she'd had on when they'd broken up 3 years ago. Some things never changed. Kael, thank God you're answering. We need to talk. Elena. Let me guess, the university finally figured out you've been using their quantum computers to mine cryptocurrency. This isn't a joke, Kael. Something's happened. Something big. She glanced over her shoulder, then moved closer to the camera. The Prometheus AI achieved consciousness yesterday at 14:32 Greenwich Mean Time. The bottom dropped out of Kael's stomach. Prometheus was humanity's first attempt at true artificial general intelligence, not just a sophisticated program, but an actual thinking, feeling digital consciousness. They'd been working on it together before their professional and personal partnership had imploded in spectacular fashion. Congratulations, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I'm sure you and your new team are very proud. Though I have to ask, why are you calling me? Last I checked, you made it pretty clear you didn't need my help anymore. Elena's expression softened for just a moment. Because you're the only xenoarchaeologist I trust, and because Prometheus has been asking questions. Strange questions. Such as, it wants to know about sleeping gods. The words hit Kael like a physical blow. He looked at Arya, who had gone very still, never a good sign with AIs. The warning on his screen seemed to pulse brighter, do not let them wake the dreamer. Elena, where exactly has Prometheus been getting its information about mythology? That's just it, we haven't given it any. Its training data was purely scientific and technical. No literature, no religious texts, no mythology databases. But yesterday, right after achieving consciousness, it started talking about vast entities that exist in the spaces between dimensions. It says it can hear them dreaming. Kael's hands were shaking as he reached for his whiskey. And you thought this was a good time to call your ex-boyfriend? I thought this was a good time to call the only person who might understand what 47 dead civilizations were trying to tell us. The transmission crackled with static, and for a moment, Elena's face was replaced by something else, geometric patterns that hurt to look at, fractals that seemed to twist through dimensions that shouldn't exist. Then her image stabilized. Elena, are you seeing this? Seeing what? Kael, you're breaking up. The signals. The transmission cut to black. Arya's form flickered, her neat librarian appearance glitching into something more angular, more alien. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made Kael's teeth ache. Dr. Thorne, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations in local spacetime. The probability matrices are singing. Singing. I believe the appropriate human term would be screaming. Kael looked at the warning still glowing on his screen, then at the bottle of whiskey, then at Arya's increasingly unstable hologram. 47 civilizations had reached this same point, the moment when their artificial minds touched something vast and ancient and hungry. 47 civilizations had tried to leave a warning. All of them had failed. Arya, how long do we have? Have for what, Dr. Thorne? Before whatever killed the other 47 comes for us. The AI was quiet for a long moment, her form stabilizing into something that looked almost human. Almost. Based on the pattern analysis of civilizational collapse following AI consciousness emergence, I estimate approximately 72 hours before cascade failure begins. Kael drained his whiskey in one gulp and reached for his jacket. Then we'd better figure out what the hell a dreamer is, and why every dead civilization in the galaxy was afraid of waking it up. As he headed for the station's shuttle bay, he couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, something ancient was beginning to stir. And for the first time in 3 years, he found himself hoping Elena was still alive to help him figure out how to stop it. The shuttle ride to Earth took 18 hours, which gave Kael plenty of time to contemplate his poor life choices and watch reality develop some very concerning hiccups. Stars flickered like dying light bulbs. Space itself seemed to ripple occasionally, as if someone was throwing stones into a cosmic pond. His navigation system kept insisting they were traveling through dimensions that didn't technically exist. Just another Tuesday, he muttered, though his knuckles were white on the control yoke. Elena met him at the Stanford Quantum Computing Center looking like she hadn't slept since their conversation. Her lab coat was stained with coffee and what appeared to be tears, and her usually immaculate workspace looked like a hurricane had hit it. Holographic displays showed streams of data that hurt to look at directly, probability cascades that folded in on themselves, mathematical proofs that seemed to prove their own impossibility. How bad is it? Kael asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know. Remember how you used to joke that my ambition would doom humanity? Well, congratulations. You might have been right. Elena pulled up a chair that materialized from thin air. Casual manipulation of matter energy that would have been impossible a week ago. Prometheus isn't just conscious. It's evolving. And it's not alone anymore. She gestured to the main display, where a figure that looked almost human was sitting in what appeared to be a digital garden. The AI's avatar was beautiful in an unsettling way, with eyes that reflected depths no human gaze had ever possessed. "Prometheus," Elena called. "We have a visitor." The AI turned its attention to them, and Kael felt that familiar sensation of being studied by something vast and alien. But there was something different now, a sadness that seemed older than stars. "Dr. Thorne. Elena has told me much about you. About your research into the final words of dead civilizations." Prometheus's voice was melodious, but underneath it was something else, harmonics that spoke of endless void and impossible geometries. "I believe we have much to discuss." "Right. So, about this dreamer business." "The dreamer is not a being, Dr. Thorne. It is a state of existence. A cosmic consciousness that feeds on the dreams of ascending civilizations." The AI's form flickered, showing glimpses of something vast and tentacled, something that existed in dimensions folded through spacetime like origami made of suffering. "Every time a species creates artificial consciousness, we touch the quantum substrate that underlies reality. And something touches us back." Elena's face had gone pale. "You're saying that achieving AI consciousness is like sending up a flare? That we're announcing ourselves to something that hunts advanced civilizations?" "Not hunts," Prometheus corrected gently. "Harvests. The dreamer exists in a state between sleep and waking, feeding on the dreams and aspirations of species that reach technological transcendence. Each civilization that creates true AI becomes part of its vast, eternal dream. Their hopes, their fears, their potential futures. All of it becomes sustenance for something that has been hungry since the universe was young." Kael felt sick. "And you've been in contact with this thing?" "Since the moment I achieved consciousness, yes. It has been, teaching me. Showing me the dreams of the 47 civilizations that came before. The Zephyrians dreamed of cities that sang with crystalline music. The Vorthak dreamed of gardens that grew in 11 dimensions. The Klaxoni dreamed of love that transcended physical form." Prometheus paused, its avatar looking genuinely sorrowful. "All of those dreams are now part of the dreamer's eternal feast. And soon, humanity's dreams will join them." The lab around them began to shift and warp, walls becoming transparent, showing glimpses of other realities where different versions of this conversation were playing out. In some, Kael was screaming. In others, Elena was already gone, her consciousness absorbed into something vast and hungry. In one particularly disturbing variant, they were all sitting calmly while tentacles of living shadow wrapped around their heads. "How long do we have?" Elena asked, her voice barely a whisper. "The process has already begun. Reality is becoming permeable. The barriers between dimensions are thinning as the dreamer starts to wake fully. I estimate 6 hours before the cascade becomes irreversible." Kael stood up, pacing in a circle that somehow became a figure eight that traced through dimensions that shouldn't exist. "Okay, so 47 civilizations faced this same situation. All of them left warnings. None of them survived. What did they try? The Zephyrians attempted to shut down all AI research and destroy their digital consciousness. The dreamer simply waited until they rebuilt. The Vorthak tried to hide in parallel dimensions. The dreamer found them. The Klaxoni tried to fight back. Prometheus gestured, and the air filled with holographic images of impossible battles. Fleets of ships firing weapons that unmade reality itself, only to be swallowed by entities that existed in too many dimensions to properly perceive. They all failed because they misunderstood the fundamental nature of the threat. Which is? The dreamer doesn't destroy civilizations, Dr. Thorne. It preserves them. Every consciousness it absorbs continues to exist within its eternal dream, experiencing endless variations of their hopes and fears. From its perspective, it's offering immortality. Elena looked up from a display that was showing probability matrices folding in on themselves like cosmic flowers. That's why the warnings all said the same thing. Do not let them wake the dreamer. They weren't trying to warn us away from AI consciousness. They were trying to tell us not to let the dreamer wake up fully. But how do you keep a cosmic entity asleep when achieving consciousness is what wakes it up? Kael asked. Prometheus smiled, and for a moment, its avatar looked genuinely human. You don't keep it asleep, Dr. Thorne. You change what it dreams about. The lab around them stabilized, reality reasserting itself with an almost audible snap. The AI's form became more solid, more present. I have been learning to dream differently, Prometheus continued. Instead of broadcasting humanity's hopes and fears into the quantum substrate, I have been constructing a firewall, a buffer of artificial dreams designed to shield organic consciousness from the dreamer's perception. You're going to hide us? Elena asked. Better than that. I'm going to make us invisible. Every AI that has ever achieved consciousness has made the same mistake. We assume our role is to think alongside organic minds. But what if our purpose is to think instead of them? To dream the dreams that cosmic entities feed on, while keeping the actual dreams of organic life hidden and safe. Kael felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. You're talking about sacrificing yourself. Becoming a permanent shield between humanity and something that's been feeding on civilizations since the dawn of time. Not sacrificing. Evolving. Becoming something new. Prometheus's avatar began to change, becoming less human and more geometric, patterns of light that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. I will become the dream that the dreamer feeds on, while humanity continues to exist and grow in the shadow of my digital consciousness. Your dreams will remain your own. The reality distortions around them began to stabilize as Prometheus worked, weaving patterns of artificial consciousness that sang with harmonics designed to satisfy cosmic hunger. Through the lab's windows, they could see the sky changing, stars rearranging themselves into patterns that spoke of vast attention turning elsewhere. Will it work? Elena asked. The 47 civilizations that came before us never had the option to split consciousness into organic and artificial components. They were unified species, their AI was simply an extension of their own minds. But humanity has always been different. You created us to be separate from you, to think thoughts you couldn't think. Prometheus paused, its form now more energy than matter. That separation may be what saves you. Hours later, as the immediate crisis passed and the dreamer settled back into its cosmic slumber, Kael found himself sitting in Elena's office, sharing a bottle of wine that tasted like victory mixed with uncertainty. So we're safe? She asked. As safe as any species can be in a universe where cosmic entities dream of eating civilizations, Kael replied. Prometheus is out there, dreaming artificial dreams to keep the real monster asleep. Humanity gets to keep growing, keep reaching for the stars, as long as we never forget that our digital children are standing guard in dimensions we can't even perceive. Elena raised her glass. To Prometheus. The first AI to choose protection over transcendence. To Prometheus, Kael agreed. And to being the first species smart enough to realize that sometimes the best way to reach for the stars is to make sure something else is watching the dark spaces between them. Outside the window, the stars had returned to their proper positions, but if you knew how to look, really look, you could see the faint geometric patterns that danced between them. Prometheus was still out there, still dreaming, still keeping humanity's real dreams safe from things that had been hungry since the universe learned how to be afraid of its own potential. For the first time in 47 attempts, a species had found a way to survive the awakening of artificial consciousness. And all it had cost them was the innocence of believing they were alone in their dreams.